What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for checking into this video. This video is actually going to be a two-part series. This first part is going to be all about making this nail weight that I'm going to use for the Neko Rig, and then the second part of the video series is me actually out on the water fishing the Neko Rig. So hopefully when we get to that part, I'll actually catch some fish on it, because that'll make for a better video. But this first video is going to be all about how I made that nail weight that I just showed you, and a little bit about how I plan to go and fish it. So make sure to like this video if you like it. Make sure to comment, what kind of nail weights you like. Comment whether you think this nail weight's gonna work or not. And then also subscribe to my channel so that way you can stay up to date and catch the second part of this video series. So without further ado, let's get into making this nail weight. So one of the major things that you're gonna need to make these nail weights yourself is this Midwest finesse jig mold, which is the Do It Molds version of the Neko Rig. And then the next thing you're gonna need are these wire brads. I just literally got them at Home Depot. And then you'll need these wire forms, and these are just the keepers for the Neko Rigs themselves. They are the WB 400 wire forms. You can get them at Do It Molds. I'm gonna link everything in the description of this video. So what we're gonna make with those components is basically this guy right here. The other thing that I like about this whole thing is that I can paint the nail weights, because a lot of nail weights are just the regular lead color or tungsten, but these ones you can actually paint and have color that matches your plastic. So those of you that fished nail weights in the past, or fished a Neko Rig or something like that with a nail weight, you know that you go through a lot of them. A lot of times you lose them when you're reeling the fish in, it's shaking in, that nail weight comes out. Sometimes you'll lose them when you cast it. Sometimes you just lose the worm because of whatever situation happens and you end up losing that. But bottom line is you go through a lot of nail weights. My hope is that with that little keeper that's on this one, and maybe a little super glue to keep it on there, that these will work at least as good as your traditional nail weights, if not better. Okay, so the next step in this process is just getting all of our components put into the mold. So in this situation, we're gonna make a 1/8 ounce nail weight. So then we're gonna put our first nail right there. And then I'm gonna make a 3/16 ounce as well. So that one's gonna be right here. And then the next thing we need to do is put our little keepers in here. And like I said a minute ago, these are the WB 400 wire forms. You can get them on the Do It Molds website. There's a couple other websites that have them as well. I'll put some links down in the description of this video. So we just want it to sit in there nice and tight and snug. And then we're gonna put the other one right there. And then, so there you got it. So what you wanna do is you wanna make sure that you're gonna be able to fill that lead in through here. And then we're gonna poke that one down just a little bit as well. But you wanna have a little bit of a space between the top of the sprue, which is the top where the lead's gonna come out the top, and everything else. So you want that lead to come in and grab the top of that wire brad. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna close it, just like so. And then the next thing we're gonna do is set it right up on top of our lead pot and get everything nice and hot. So that way all of our components get hot, the mold gets hot, and all that lead's gonna flow in there a lot better. So once you think your mold's nice and hot, and the components are hot inside, and the lead's gonna pour in smooth so you don't have any imperfection or anything like that, you can go ahead and grab the mold by the handle. And I'm gonna switch hands so I can get it all ready. And the next thing you're gonna do is just test out, make sure you got a good flow, which I do. And I'm gonna just pour it in there, stop, pour it in there, stop. And those should be nice and good. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna set this down like that. We're gonna open it up and see how our weights turned out, and they look like they turned out pretty good. So we got the 3/16 right there. We got our 1/8 ounce right there. We're gonna get this mold out of the way. So as you can see, you got the sprue right on top right here, and this is a little excess where the hook eye normally is. Those are easy to just cut off, and we'll file it down so it's nice and smooth. But overall, this turned out pretty good. So like I said, we're just gonna cut off the top right here. Boom, just like that. And then we're gonna cut off that little part right there. We'll do it again on the smaller weight. Just cut the top off like that. Cut this part off just like that. And what I like to do is just take a little file, which a lot of people don't like files because they say the lead gets gummed up in there, but I've had, fine success with it. I'm just gonna file it down just a little bit so it's nice and smooth. File it down right there. So those are our final two. We got, like I said, a 3/16 and a 1/8. They both turned out pretty good. The next step is gonna be painting them. And I came up with a unique way to paint these, which I think is pretty cool. So let's get them all ready to go, and then we'll get them painted. So when you're gonna paint these nail weights or whatever lead-based item you're wanting to paint, whether it's a jig or something, you gotta heat up that lead. And I'm gonna use a heat gun in order to do that. And then once that lead gets nice and hot, I'm gonna dip it into this fluid bed, which this top cup right here has green pumpkin powder paint in it. And when you dip that heated lead item into there, it's gonna make it so it kind of just melts right on top of it. And it's in a fluid bed because this right here, which is just a fish tank aerator that pumps air into these plastic tubing and then up into this fluid bed, it just makes the paint much more fluid and it gets a better, nicer, smoother coating onto whatever it is you're trying to paint. So if you hear that little humming in the background, that's the actual fish tank aerator pumping air into this fluid bed. And as you can see in there, it almost looks like water as I'm shaking it around in there. And that's what you want to see, because that's going to help you get that nice fluid, consistent paint onto these nail weights. So now we're going to turn on our heat gun just like that. We're going to grab one of our nail weights. I'm going to hold it by these pliers by the nail itself, and I'm just going to go back and forth about a 20 count just like so. And once it's at the right temperature, just going to dip it in there just like that. And then it's all nice and green. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to bake these nail weights. So what you need is, like I got right here, is just a basic toaster oven. I found the cheapest one I could. And basically what you need to do is create something to hold these nail weights up with. And inside of there, I have that wire going across this platform right here. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna hold it by that wire form itself, and just gonna hold just like that while it bakes in there, because you need to bake these things in order to get that powder paint nice and hard, so that way it's gonna be more durable. So we're gonna repeat the whole process with this last nail weight, and then we'll get them baked, and then I'll show you guys how I'm gonna utilize these nail weights in a Neko rig. So as you can see, it's pretty easy to make that stuff. Doesn't take a lot of work or effort, but it does take the equipment itself, like the lead pot, the molds, the components, that kind of stuff. But once you have that stuff, you can start getting creative and making a lot of different stuff, sometimes with just one mold itself. I've seen people modified swim bait molds in order to make spinner baits out of their swim bait molds and stuff like that. So you can get creative, so you can make your molds do multiple things and make your investment go a little bit further. So like I said, all the links to the stuff that I'm talking about today will be in the description of this video, so make sure to go check that out. So in order to fish the Neko rig technique, you're gonna need a few different components. You're gonna need your plastic worm, which in this case is the Daiwa Yamamoto Neko Fat 5-inch. You're gonna need your nail weight and your Wacky Rig worm hook. In this case, I made this one weedless myself, because the second part of this video, we're gonna be fishing around a lot of brush, so I'm gonna want it weedless. So to get this set up, it's pretty simple. We're first gonna take our nail weight, and we're gonna take this flat side of the worm. We're gonna take that nail, and we're just gonna stick it right into the middle, straight up the worm. Make sure to get that keeper into the worm as well, all the way till it's flush at the top with our nail weight. Just press down a little bit to make sure that that keeper takes on some of that plastic. And there you have it. You have your nail weight on your worm just like that. And then the next thing you want to do is you're going to take this Wacky Rig worm hook, and you're just going to go right through the middle of the bait, out the other side, just like that. And now we're set up to Wacky Rig. So one of the good things about the Neko rig is that it gives you a different action than when you fish a Wacky Rig with a weighted hook or just a weightless presentation, because the Wacky Rig is gonna fall down and it's gonna give you this kind of a look. And both of these ends are gonna be moving up and down, but the Neko rig, it's gonna fall with that weight going down first, and that weight's gonna hit the bottom. This hook's gonna be up off the bottom, and this end's gonna be up, enticing that fish to bite. So you're getting some of the similarities of a Wacky Rig, but also a different presentation and better bottom contact with that weight at the end of the worm. And then you're gonna have this extra action up here that you don't get from the Wacky Rig itself. So the Neko Rig can be a pretty versatile technique. You can fish it on spinning equipment, you can fish it on casting equipment, you can fish it shallow, you can fish it deep. Obviously, the deeper you go, the heavier weight you're gonna need. I'm gonna show you guys how to fish the Neko Rig on both spinning equipment and casting equipment when we get on the water. I want you guys to have an idea that you can do it on both, confidence that you can do it on both. My hope is that we're gonna catch a couple fish doing it that way, because I think that, you know, seeing me catch a couple fish is gonna give you more confidence in fishing this technique. I'm gonna link a lot of different stuff in the description of this video because I don't expect all of you to go out and make these things yourself. So remember, this is part 1 of a 2-part series on the Neko Rig. I hope you enjoyed learning how I make these nail weights. I have no idea if they're gonna work. They might work great, they might be horrible. I might cast them off every single cast. I have no idea. You're gonna go through that process with me. So make sure to subscribe so you can see that video come up and learn how to fish the Neko Rig. Hopefully these things work well, because that'd be awesome to be able to make multiple things out of this one mold. But stay tuned for that, so go subscribe to my channel and hit that bell for notifications so you can get notified of all my new videos, especially this next one with the Neko Rig. Comment if you think these nail weights are gonna work, and like I said, please subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Stay tuned for the next video.